Okay, hi everyone. Let me switch on a few options here first. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready. Thank you everyone for joining another sessions of the data science skill workshops from the data science summer school, data science, the Hertie School Data Science Lab. My name is Hui, and I will be supporting you here today to just go through some of the things that are happening in the world of AI at the moment. So the ideas for these kind of skill workshops is basically a way for us to, I think, do some outreach for the communities of people that are interested in data science and wanting to get into data science research or maybe applied work in data. We want to have these kind of regular update sessions where we try to give you some information about what's going on in the world of AI, as well as maybe some of the updates on the new tools that are coming out. So these sessions are meant to be very informal. It's meant to be very fun and chill. So please feel free to grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, get some biscuits, and we'll just go through some of these tools and some of these methods in a very easygoing way. So it's not a sessions that is formal. It's not a sessions that has a very high impact or high important. It's just basically to help you update on what's going on in the world of AI. And also, I'm very sorry that we haven't been able to upload some of the previous sessions that we did before. I stupidly changed my phone, and so for some reason now I cannot sign into our lab's YouTube account anymore to upload some of the videos from that we have from previous sessions. So my apologies. I will try to get that sorted out this weekend, so that I will try to update all the previous sessions that we've had on AI tools, as well as on building AI products, for example, so that you can watch it whenever you're free as well. So this session is also being recorded, and we will also put it up on YouTube afterwards. So in case you want to watch it back and to see some of the tools that I've talked about, as well as maybe try it out, you can also do it on your own as well. And just to remind you, so this is the last of the AI skills workshop that we will have for this semester. And coming in the next semesters, which is coming in September, we will have a series of data engineering fundamentals workshop, which we're planning to have 3 to 4 workshops, which focus more on the data engineering aspects of data science. So data science, there are 3 very distinct part of data science, right? So at first, you always have the data engineering pipeline, which is where you actually collect the data, you actually process the data, and then after you have the data in a format that is processed and that is readable by a computer, for example, then you actually transfer that to the data scientist to actually do the modeling and do the data insights. And then afterwards, you maybe transfer it to the machine learning engineers, who will then build a web app, for example, or build some kind of products to use the insights that you have from the data modeling process. And so we will focus on that first part of this whole process, which is on the data engineering pipeline. And we will walk you through some of the most common techniques on how to use data engineering to collect data and to create data warehouse, data lakes, as well as other ways to implement data engineering pipelines in industries as well as in academia. And we will continue to have these data skill workshops where we update you on what's going on in the AI tool space as well, because this is something that I think all of us are struggling with, right? So I think every day we see all these news that are coming about all these fun and exciting new tools in AI that it's hard to keep up with. And I think it's very overwhelming sometimes just to keep up with everything that's going on. So we want to have these sessions. And I personally also want to have these sessions as well, so that I can also collect my thoughts and also to see what is actually out there. So just weed out all the noise and just focus on the things that are really might be useful for our daily life and our work and our research, right? So that's the goal that we will have for these kind of sessions. So as I mentioned earlier, so these will be very much demo sessions, and so it's very chill, very relaxed and informal. So we will go through some of the tools a bit later on. We will, I think, go through 4 different tools today, and then afterwards you can try it out on your own as well, and just to see how they work in reality and how they might perhaps supplement your workflow and how they may potentially help you, for example, in your day-to-day and also on your work as well. So we don't have a presentation today. We just have a few websites as well as some of the pointers on where you can try out these models. So I will stop the presentation here. And then we will switch to my browsers where we can see some of the things that we want to go through today. So first, I want to update you on just some of the things that just came out today, right? So these are just literally today, this morning, all of these things that just came out from all these different technologies and all these different companies. First, the big thing is Amazon Bedrock, which is basically Amazon's owned generative AI services, which, from what I understand from their presentations and then from reading their services here, it's basically a cloud service where you can train your own model, right? So all these different companies, what they're trying to build on is basically to build their own foundational models in text generations, in image generations, in voice generations, for example, so that the foundation model is basically what you use to fine-tune your own data sets on, right? So you can understand a lot of different companies. Each company has their own data sets, or maybe personally you have your own data sets as well. Things like your personal journals, your work documentations, for example. And then each people has their own use case for text generations or image generations, for example. So what a lot of these companies are banking on is that companies in the futures and maybe people in the future, each of them will have their own personalized AI chatbot to help them with their daily life, help them with their daily work. And so Amazon Bedrock is basically like that, which is basically a space where you can build your own foundation. You have the foundational models for text generations, for image generations, and then you feed in your own data sets so that you can train these models with your own data sets, with your own words, with your own images, so that they are able to help you to perhaps fasten your work processes. For example, you can imagine a company that has thousands of pages of documentations, like financial report, for example. They can basically build their own financial chatbot that can very quickly chat and talk with their clients, talk with their employees, especially new employees coming into the office and not knowing what's going on. They can basically have this personalized chatbot to help them on their daily work to catch up very quickly with the work of the organization, for example. So there's tons and tons of use cases that you can do this for. And this is the funny thing that everyone's pointing out is Amazon hasn't touched, AWS, Amazon haven't touched on anything generative in the last 6 months in their earnings calls. And then today, I think like before their earnings calls or something, they actually start to put out this big project. So I think that's a very interesting thing that is going on. And just to show the AI race that is really heating up with all these companies, Microsoft, with Amazon, and that are just like really going head to head, and Google as well going head to head with these services. And the next things that came out is Facebook animated drawing. So I think this also just came out earlier today. They had this this GitHub repo for quite a while already, but they, I think, just opened up the models for everyone to use. So this is, I think, a very fun thing, especially if you have children. So if you are an animator or if you're someone who work in the digital art space, it's basically a way for you to animate any drawings that you have. And so so you can imagine if you have children, like you can actually let the children like draw like a very funny stick figures, or like draw whatever they want. And then with just a few lines of code, you can basically like turn them into these fun figures that you can animate them to do whatever you want, which is, I think, a very unique and a very fun way to interact with drawings and digital arts. And yeah, so there's a project website here where you can actually test it out, and you can also download the model directly into your laptop, and you can play around with it. I don't think you need a GPU for this. I haven't been able to download it because this is literally just came out today, and so I haven't had the time to try it out. But like from the look of it, looks really fun, and this is actually what I will try immediately after this workshop, just to have fun a little bit with this. And the next thing that came out today is Stable Diffusion's XL model. So stable diffusions, we've talked about this before already. So we have DALL-E, which is the enterprise generative art model, which is a paid version, and it's always behind a paid wall, and it's a closed source model. And Stable Diffusion is an open source generative art model. You can actually create art from your own computers, and without having to rely on any APIs, without having to rely on any corporations that will oversee or might I know ban or might they might look into your images that you create, and they might also just collect them. So Stable Diffusion is basically in free open source. You can run it on your local computers. And one of the big criticisms that Stable Diffusion has is that the models and also the images that are created by Stable Diffusions are sometimes not that good because they are an open source model, right? So they have to be very transparent about their data source. They have to be very transparent about where they get the data and collect the data from. And so they have to be very careful to not infringe on copyrights of artists, for example. And so with this new model that just came out today, it's still in beta mode. So it's not completely open source yet. So the model is still training, but they have given out this this beta model for us to test out. It's actually able to create very, very beautiful and out of the box images that you don't have to do any iterations or any further improvements on. So this is usually, it's only possible with Midjourney, which is a very popular service for I think AI artists. Most of you probably know that already. So Midjourney is very popular, and this is one of the services that when you put in your prompt, whatever that you get in the beginning, it's already very good. So you don't actually have to do any refining. You don't have to do any additional changes to your models or to your prompt in order to get very good images. And so now Stable Diffusion is able to do the same thing with this new beta here, which I think is a wonderful thing for the art communities, because then you don't have to rely on paid versions of things anymore, and you can just have fun on your computers, and you can enjoy, you can create art, and you can do all kinds of fun prototypes and products. And another thing that is quite exciting, but I haven't also having the time to create a demo for this, especially Open Assistant. Open Assistant is an open source ChatGPT model that helps you basically with this process of training your own data set. So we talked about earlier about how Amazon Bedrock is this space where you can train your own model using their foundational models, right? And Open Assistant is kind of the same thing, which is basically this mix between a conversational AI model that you can talk with, and also it's able to help you to collect the data that you put into it. So it's basically you can talk and you can put your data into the chat, and then it collects these data, and then it trains the models based on what you give it, right? So that's you are able to basically very easily train your own data set. You're able to very easily train your own models while just like talking to the Open Assistants casually. And so I think this is also a great thing to have for the open source community as well. So we've seen that the generative art communities, they have the Stable Diffusions moment, right, where things are open source and there are tons and tons of improvements on these models and tons of features that are being built on these models. Instead of relying on just Midjourney or relying on OpenAI and DALL-E. So now we're starting to see that in the generative text community as well, where you can actually not having to rely on ChatGPT, and we will see that later on. We can actually see some of the models now that are open source, and you can run it on your own computer without having internet access. And you can ask it any questions unfiltered, and it will answer anything for you, whatever it is that you want to know. And so so now, yeah, the text generation communities are having this Stable Diffusion moments where the Llama, which is Meta's or Facebook open source large language model, is already out, and they have the 7 billion parameters, 13 billion parameters, I think 35 or 30 billion parameters and 65 billion parameters. And each of these are very good text generation models that you can build on top of that. And Stanford, for example, they built Alpaca, which is a very good chat GPT equivalent that are built on Llama model, for example. And so, yeah, so those are just what happens today, right? So these just like four things that I just mentioned are like all the things that just happened within today and this week, which is crazy to think about. I think, and I think someone said that 7 hours in the world of AI is like 7 years in the world of software engineering, which I think is quite true when you look at the speed of everything that comes out every single week and every single day. So I think it's more and more important for us to just keep track of everything that's going on, right? Or at least know what's going on, so that we don't fall behind and we know what to expect, and also we can perhaps think of ways that we can use this for our research and maybe for our businesses, especially if you want to build your own AI services, for example. So with that, we will go into our actual topic today, which is to go through some of the demos of AI tools. So the first thing that I want to demo is AutoGPT. And this is, I think, a very big sensation that is coming out right now. Everyone and their mother is trying to switch to AutoGPT instead of just using OpenAI ChatGPT, because this is basically an autonomous AI system, right? So usually with ChatGPT, if you want to, for example, if you want to learn a new language, right? You want to ask ChatGPT questions on things that you need to know and things that you want to learn when you learn a language. And so you basically have to prompt it different questions. You have to open up the tabs, and you have to constantly feed it different questions and different upgrades. Or, for example, if you are building a business and you want to use ChatGPT as your co-pilot on building your business, then you have to constantly ask it different questions. And then sometimes the model, because it has a limitations on how many tokens it can actually remembers and how many tokens it can actually generate, then sometimes it forgets previously what it actually told you and what it's already generated. And so AutoGPT is basically a solution that overcomes all of these issues by having basically a continuous models that learns and remembers exactly what you talked about and exactly what you asked the model to do. And the idea is that you can basically create a ChatGPT equivalent model that can talk to you and also remembers everything that you talked about in your conversations. And it has a purpose in mind, right? So you can, for example, you can build a GPT chat model that are focused and razor focused on building a business, for example, right? And on how to improve your business, or maybe build a chatbot that are razor focused on research, right? And finding answers to into the mysteries of the universe and things like that. Or you can build a chatbot that is just like razor focused on helping you to learn languages and make better improvement in your life, for example. So that's the idea behind AutoGPT, which is you can give at first the objective for the model, and then the models will then extrapolate based on that objectives, and you'll basically autonomously create like different plans and different objectives and like what to do next in order for you or to help you to build and improve on your business and on your ideas. And so this is the GitHub page for this model. So it looks quite I think overwhelming, but this is actually a very simple thing to run. So if you understand GitHub, then it's very easy. You can just clone this model into your computers. You change your directories into that folders that you just download, and you just installs all the requirements for that model, right? And then the next thing is you need an OpenAI API key, which is basically still a ChatGPT API, and you also need a key for let me see here. Yeah, 11's Lab, if you want to, for example, if you want to talk to your models, right? So 11's Lab, it's basically a service that is for AI voice. And so you can, you can basically just talk to your models, and then it will actually give you like a personalized ChatGPT voice to talk to you as well on the answers that you want to look for. And you will also need to have, let me see here, a Pinecone API as well. So Pinecone is basically a service that saves all the different embeddings of the models that is created through your conversations with ChatGPT, right? So one thing that we mentioned earlier, one of the weaknesses of ChatGPT, the native model, is that it's not able to remember all the things that and conversations that you had before, right? Because every time you have a new conversation, it's something new. And so Pinecone is basically this service. It's free, right? So you can basically sign in just using your Google account or using your GitHub account, and then it basically like gives you an AI API key that you can basically use for this auto GPT thing. And Pinecone basically saves all the embeddings that are created within your conversations with the model. So you can have like thousands of words long conversations with your models. You can have endless conversations with it, and it will still remember what it was generated before, and gives you the right context for your next conversations and your next talk with the model. And so, for example, here, this is something that I created like a few days ago, just to test it out. And this is basically like the context of all the conversations that I've had with these models before. And so I can actually like here comes back and I can ask it things that I've talked about before previously, like in a few days ago, for example. And with that, let's try to run this model so you can see. So as I mentioned earlier, right, so you can basically run this model very easily on your personal computer as well. And I'm just gonna change this to my workspace on our server, so it's a little bit quicker. So we don't have to wait for inference time of a lot of these models. Yeah, I totally forgot where I put that model. I think put it. Let me know if you need to. Yeah, I will just make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, so let me know at any point if you need to see the screen better, right? So I think my screen resolution is a little bit not optimal. Yeah, so for example, this is this steps here, right? We changed our directory to Auto GPT. I've already installed all the requirements. And I've also changed the environment. So this is the environment. So there's this file here, right? So env.env. This is basically the file that stores all the information regarding your environments and all your API keys. And so it's a very important file that you need to use to put in your API keys here. So for example, here, this is my open API keys. I basically just add this here. And the next thing that you need to add is this Pinecone API here that we talked about earlier, right? So so that the model can actually remember all the things that you've talked to before with it. And I will change all my APIs later. So feel free to use this if you want to, but at the moment I will just leave it there. Then we will run that and see how that works. Scripts main.py. Okay, no module name. Yeah, I forgot to open up this thing. It looks a little bit weird, but no worries. I'm just opening up the workspace for this model. Okay, GPT, Python scripts. Okay, so this is what it looks like, right? So this is basically a GPT agent to help me learn my Germans, which I created yesterday. But we want to try something new today, so let's just say no. So we can have a new AI. So so this is the start of this new AI model, right? Okay. So let me make this a little bit bigger so we all see what's going on. Clear. Okay, not on that. So so this is a start of whatever it is that you want to create, right? So for example, you can create any kind of AI agents that you want to have in order to help you on your journeys. So for example, let's just take the examples that they have here, which is to create, for example, like an entrepreneur GPT. And this is, you can give it any names, right? You don't have to follow exactly what it has here, but you can basically follow what it has here, or you can also create something new on your own as well. So for example, maybe I want to create, like maybe we just follow this example here just to see what it wants to, what we can do with it. And yeah, after you describe the AI roles, which is basically the objective that you want to give the AI, right? So for example, here, the objective that we give the AI, which is basically the example, is an AI designed to autonomously develop and run businesses with the sole goal of increasing your net worth, right? And you can change that up depending on what kind of AI you want to build, right? So for example, you want to build an AI that helps you to learn how to paint, for example, then you basically change it up by saying an AI designed to help me learn how to do oil painting, for example, and sell my oil painting as an art business, for example. So any kind of AI helpers that you want to build, you can basically give it the roles here. And then you should also give it the different objectives and goals, right? So usually they recommend you to give it 5 goals so that it can actually start to build up on these goals and actually search for different things that you would need, right? So the benefit of this model is that it's actually able to search on the internet. So it actually has access to internet, and it can search on different websites on the internet. For example, it can search on websites for financial reports. It can search websites for businesses on Etsy that are popular, for example. So it can actually guide you on your journey on how to build things that you want to build using the AI. So let's just use the example that they have here so that we see how it looks like. Go to their account, develop and manage multiple businesses, autonomous, mostly, and here, get 1 million euros in return on investment in 1 year. Maybe also how to employ at least 15 people in 1 year. So you basically give the AI the name, then you give it the roles, which is basically the objective that you want the AI models to have, right? And then you give it the 5 goals. Then what the models do is that it will basically queries OpenAI constantly on these 5 goals, as well as the objective that it has here, so that it will start with the goal 1, and then it will gradually give you actions as well as things that you should do, and the plans that you should have here, so that you can gradually execute and you can gradually achieve the goals that you want to have in the beginning, right? So for example, here, after we give it the 5 goals, it gives you basically the thoughts that it has behind it based on these 5 goals and the objective that it gives it, right? So the first thing that it sees based on all the things that you have created here is that the model needs to prioritize the goals so that it can determine the commands that it needs to execute next, right? And it also gives you the reasoning behind the thoughts that it has. And the reasoning is that if I prioritize my goal, I can focus my efforts on the most important one and develop a plan accordingly. And so now the plan that it has is to rank the goals in order of priorities. And so you give it the 5 goals initially here, right? And so now what it's trying to do is to rank these different goals to see which one to focus on first, so that it can create the next actions. And so yeah, so basically you can basically use this command here. So for example, here the input is do nothing. We can basically give that, or you can write other commands into it, right? So you don't have to exactly follow this recommendation that it has, but it's a good start before you try something else. So then it basically gives you the next thought that it has, right? And yeah, it gives you the next thought that it has, and then the next thought is usually just we'll try to use one of these goals to basically extrapolate and to think and to and to basically to give you recommendations on what to do. And so that plan that it has now to review current financial situations, to determine which area needs improvement, prioritize them based on the impact of your overall net worth, choose the best command to improve my finances. And then the criticism is I need to be honest with myself about my current financial situations and my ability to improve it so that I can make effective decisions. And this is also a recommendations for you as a user, right? As the Lord that commands the AI model. So you need to be very honest. Like you need to give it basically like, hey, how much I have in the banks, or how much I can use for these ventures, and how much I can borrow from banks, for example. And then here you can see in the next actions, it actually gives you like a recommendations is to Google how to improve personal finance, right? So you can actually do that. Google how to improve personal finances. And then the model, what it's doing right now is actually it's Googling how to improve personal finances and choosing the best articles that talks about this particular subjects. And it will basically feed back to you the plans and what it thinks is the next step in order for you to achieve your goals and also become more financially dependent, for example. Yeah, so as you can see here, the thoughts that it has is I found an article with 30 tips on how to improve personal finances. Some of the tips include creating a budget, reducing expenses, creating income, investing. I need to evaluate which tips are more applicable to my current situations. So you can see there's tons and tons and tons of ways that you can move forward with this, right? And then the next action that it recommends is to browse the website that it found, which is this website with like 30 tips here, which basically is this website here. And so, yeah, you can basically just click Y to execute that command, which is basically to browse this website. And then it's going to summarize here exactly. It's basically like exactly like what the website is talking about. So as you can see here, you can basically do this endlessly, right? You can basically create like different types of AI agents to help you on any kind of things that you have in your life. It can be personal business, it can be on your personal finances, it can be on your learning journey. I'm learning German, for example, I'm learning Spanish. And so I'm basically having a German AI and or Spanish AI that I also just talk to it in German and Spanish to also just to chat with it. Right? And so it's, I think it's a very interesting development and also a very, very fun tool to play around with. And people have actually, a few people have actually created businesses based on whatever it is that is generated by this auto GPT model here, right? And some of them have actually become profitable. So I remember a business that I saw earlier yesterday. I think it was a business to sell t-shirts, or maybe to sell digital art products based on Stable Diffusions on Etsy, and then they are already profitable based on the recommendations that AutoGPT give to you. And so I think it's a very interesting tools that it's basically a co-pilot for our life, right? And so, for example, if you want to, I don't know, get into the dating life, for example, you can also have like a dating GPT to perhaps help you to, like talk and maybe to improve your communications and things that you want to talk to your potential partners, for example. So many different applications and that you can think of, and you can also build a more friendly interface for people, right? So this is basically, you have to use the command line for this, but you can also very easily build a fun web UI interface, so like a web app, and then you can also like build a business around that if you want to. So I think this is a very fun development, and use it, have fun with it, and see how you can perhaps make use of it to improve your life and your work. And as I said earlier, you can also use speak mode as well, right? So you can also, as I mentioned earlier, you have 11 Labs, which is this tools, the services actually gives you AI voices. So all the things that is generated here, they can basically wrap it up in an AI voice and can talk to you directly, like Siri, for example. So many fun things that you can have and built with this. I think this is going to be quite a big thing, like in the next couple of weeks and months, when people are pouring into this tools and to try it out, and they see how effective and how fun it is. So that is the first tool that we have for this presentation today. Do you have any questions that you might have on this? Or maybe we can move forward with the next model. And then after that, we can collect everyone's questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please put it in the chat, and we'll go over it at the end of the sessions. And the next one that I want to go over is, okay, let me exit this here. So we have more resources for other things. The next one that I want to talk about is text generation web UI. So we talked earlier about how now text generations is having a moment as Stable Diffusions, right? Where you have Meta open source their Llama model, their large language models that has 65 billion parameters, basically like all these tokens and embeddings of human languages. And so now you are actually able to run a local implementations of ChatGPT that do not need to have access to the internet. And so you can ask it like private questions that are more personal to you. For example, if you have mental health issues that want to talk to the models, for example, to get advices and things like that, and you do not want OpenAI to eavesdrops on your conversations. And this is basically what is perfect for you, right? You can basically, and then you can also build research tools on it as well. We're not able to build businesses on top of this at the moment because Meta is still a business, and so the open source model is still operating under a very specific license that are free for research, but not free for businesses at the moment. I think that will change like in the next couple of months or even weeks when we have all these companies that are pouring in and are creating new open source models. So we will eventually have like completely open source models for text generation that anyone can use for whatever purposes to create your businesses or for personal use. But for the moment, it's only for personal use and also for research usage. And in order to help you to be familiar and also make it easier on your life as well, there's already like a web UI, which is basically a web like a web service that can basically create an interface that you can talk to this model. So you don't have to talk to it through through this terminal like we did with AutoGPT, right? So for this, you can go to this GitHub here for Ubabuka, who's already very kindly created text generation web UIs that are compatible with all the open source text generation models from Llama, from Llama CCP, from JPT-J, from Pythia, OTP, Galactica. So all these open source large language models, it's compatible with this web UI. And so you can load them directly into your servers or your computers and to have fun with it. So for example, I will use that. For example, this I'm using the 7 billion parameters from the Llama model, right? So just to make it a little bit faster. And to use this model is also very easy, right? So you can actually have, if you use Windows, you can actually just install it directly on your Windows machine. So you can download this one-click installers, and then you basically create like a web app directly in your Windows. If you use Mac and if you use Linux, then yeah, you still need to use a little bit of the terminal like this. But then after you have cloned the models, you have installed all the requirements, then you basically just need to yeah, run the Python commands like I did here to run the server, and then we're up and running. Let's see if it's still up or we need to. Okay. Yeah, sorry. It's always hiccup issues with live demo. Not sure why. Issues. Okay, should be okay now. Yeah. Yeah, so for the Llama model, one of the disadvantages of the Llama model is that it's not directly a chat model. So the Llama model is basically a very native GPT model, right? Which is basically a model that is very good on generating the next thing that you have in the conversations. So that's why in order to make this model work, you basically have to give it like a template like this, right? So for example, I can ask it like, what is the meaning of life? And when I click on generate, what the model does is that it takes in all these informations, right? And then it will try to generate in what is the next thing that might eventually happen after this. So yeah, we ask this like, what is the meaning of life? There isn't one, it just happened to be that way for no reason at all. So yeah, it has a factual answer, and then there's another answer that is a little bit more, I guess, like more nuanced, which is the meaning of life depends on your point of view. Could mean anything from spiritual journey or an evolutionary process to simply being alive in general. And as you can see here, it's probably taking something from a conversation that I saw online, right? And maybe if we generate again, then it gives you something a little bit better. So here, factual, the purpose of your existence as a human being on this earth. Why do you want to know? It means for me, it's my personal opinions. I have no idea. Yeah, so as you can see here, it's every time you change it, it's going to be something different. And it's not as strong and it's not as robust as GPT-4, the latest model from OpenAI that just came out for GPT-4 is very, very strong, and it's actually create very beautiful answers. But still, I think these are very good and very fun to play around with, and also it's not every day that you have the sum of human knowledge in basically in your own local laptop that you can run anywhere, right? And you can basically think of yeah, places, for example, like on your plane, for example, when you're on a plane without any internet, or you're traveling without any internet, and if you want to search for Google, or you want to Google things, or if you want to, for example, debug your code with the support of an AI text generation models, then this is a very good place to start, right? You can basically use this and you can run it on your local machines without having to rely on the internet, without having to rely on Google. and without having to rely on Open API, on OpenAI. And so, yeah, and then you can change and you can use like all kinds of different models, right? So there's all of these different parameters that you can toggle with. So temperature is basically for creativities, right? The more temperatures that you have, it's like the more random and the more creative the model gives you the answers, but the less you give the temperature, like the less creative it gets and the more straightforward the answer is. Right? And then so there's all these parameters that you can play around with here. And you can also load different models that you have. Yeah, you can, I just put 2 models here, 7 billion and 13 billion llama model. I mean, you can load so many different models. You can also upload your models that you download online as well. And you can also train your own data sets based on your personal information, on your personal company's data, for example. And so this is a very important thing for privacy reasons, right? So a lot of companies, they have sensitive financial information. And also personally, you have sensitive information that you don't want to just like train and run things on OpenAI, because that's basically, they basically will take all your data and they will also feed that back into your retraining of their GPT model. And with this, you are able to run these models locally on your machine. You are able to get the data for your company, for example, and run it without having to worry about privacy issues. And you can also run your own personal data on this as well, like without having to worry that other people or other companies are looking into your data. So this, I think it's a very useful thing, especially if you are in the research field, and if you are in the enterprise and business fields that want to create something like this for the use case of your company, for your own personal use as well. So that's the second thing that I want to showcase today. It's the text generation model. And then the fourth thing is, I think it's even more fun, which is very similar to this, which is a model for chat conversations, but it's much more lightweight and it's much easier to run. So it is the GPT-4All model. So this is basically a model that is based on the Alpaca model from Stanford. And so it's very lightweight. It's very easy to run. It can run locally on any computers, Mac, Windows, Ubuntu. And the easiest thing for this is that you don't need to like use any kind of, you don't need to use any kinds of terminals. You don't need to use any kind of complex code, right? So you can actually just download an app directly already here. So for example, you can download a macOS app and you can already install that app. Or if you use Windows, you can, just like download like an app already, and you can run and you can chat with it directly with the model. And it's basically able to perform very, very well as this text generation model here. And so it's highly recommend checking this out. I personally use this basically instead of ChatGPT nowadays, just because of how lightweight it is now. So you can run it without any internet, right? So you can just run it anywhere. And I travel very often in the weekend. So whenever I'm on the train or I'm on the plane and I need to use it for codings, and basically I just like fire up this thing and it's just like ask it questions directly without having to rely on the internet. Or if I'm on the countryside or something without any internet or very bad internet, and this is basically what I use to query all the different things that I need to know. So highly recommend checking out GPT-4All for your own personal local machines. So I can also just run it very quickly here. So you can just take a look on how it looks like. So it loads the model. So this is you can also run it on the terminal as well, right? So I like running it on the terminal because I already have all these things running here. But you can, download the app and you can just run the app without having to worry about all the code and everything here. And then, which it's load very quickly, and you can just ask it for the ocean blue, and it's gives you the answer, I think, fairly quickly. Reflection of the particles. And this is not using any internet, right? So it doesn't need any internet to connect to anything. And this is just like purely running on my machine's CPU. And so, very fun, very easy to use. And you can ask it like to write poems, to write code for you if you want to. Like it's like anything that you can think of. This is very good for that. And so that's it for text generations or text UI. And the last thing that I want to show, I think we have only 10 minutes left, but we will try to speed run through stable diffusions and the amazing thing that is happening in stable diffusions at the moment. So stable diffusions, very recently, they just have this new tools that just came out called ControlNet. And stable diffusions ControlNet, the idea behind, let me just search very quickly. The idea behind ControlNet is that before, when we use AI art generations, we don't know exactly what we will get from the AI model, right? So that's one of the criticisms of AI art, which is it doesn't feel like an art at all when you, as the user, don't really know what's going to come out of the model. You don't exactly know what's happening, and you can't really change things exactly as you want. And so, like, a lot of times what you need is that you need to create an image. You need to create something beautiful, and then a lot of times, like, you need to download, and then you have to upload it on Photoshop, and you have to change things on the Photoshop to get exactly what you want. That is no longer the case with ControlNet. So with ControlNet, you are able to generate the image exactly as you want, and you can change the image in any way that you want. Colors, the pose of the people in the photo, and yeah, the different styles that you want in the photos to exactly what you want and exactly what you imagined. So as you can see here, one of the examples, it uses basically like a lot of already all the models that are already out and open source on PostNet, for example. PostNet is basically a model that kind of create like a stick figures of your body, of your movement of the human body, right? So the human body, whenever we move, you can imagine that there's always a line of our bones that goes to our body, right? So this basically, PostNet is basically a very good model that is able to detect whatever the pose of the person in the photo is. And so by having, for example, PostNet in the ControlNet model, you are able to manipulate this pose of the people. So you can, people standing, you can make them sit, you can make them stand, you can make them lie down, you can make them change different positions, you can make them raise their hands, you can make them jump up and down. So you can basically create any kind of movements and create any kinds of visuals of people or things that you want. And then there's also, apart from ControlNet, there's also, just completely forgot the name of that. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, there's ControlNet, and then there's also Canny. Canny is basically a model that detects the edges of the model. Right? So you can see here all the images here, and any images, you always have the edges, right? So that, for example, here, like the edges can be the edge of the, this woman's hair, for example, or the edge can be their faces here. And you can control any edges here in any of these photos. So you can basically change the hair of this person completely. You can change the face shape of this person completely. You can change the colors of their blouse completely. So you have all the options to just basically like manipulate your image, whatever you want, just based on your prompt engineering and based on your words. Right? So I'll just do a very quick demo here so you can take a look at how it looks like actually. Yeah, so I'm starting again my stable diffusions web UI, so we can start on it. So this is the automatic 1111 web AI, web UI for stable diffusions, right? So for this, you just go to the GitHub page of automatic 1111 stable diffusion web UI. This is still the best web interface for stable diffusion models. It's very easy to use, and they constantly add in new features into this. And yeah, you can install this very easily on Windows, on Linux, on any place. So what I always recommend is to go to Wiki. So they have a very good Wiki page that helps you to run on MacBook, on any kinds of hardware that you need. And it has also very good documentations here to help you with a lot of different things and features for your model as well. So let's just work on the ControlNet for the moment. So one thing that this model has is prompts, right? So they actually have very good prompts in this model here. So so one of the new features for automatic diffusion is this features where you can basically save automatically the prompts that you like to use, right? So there's a lot of different prompts, and sometimes you can't keep track of things, and usually before people have to resort to Excel file or spreadsheet to keep track of their prompts. Now you can basically load your prompts directly, and then you can save your prompts. For example, I can save the style here and just beautiful cyberpunk faces, for example, and then I can click OK, and then I can always reload all the prompts that I've used before here, right? So this is one of the prompts that I think worked quite well for me before. So I want to reuse it again, and I want to maybe have a horizontal photos. Let's just see what the model can generate here. Maybe I want to create 4 photos. So we have 1 photo here, but I want to create several so that we can actually choose which one that might look better. Okay, so we have a couple of options here. I think I like this one the best. And I'm just using open journey models, right? So for stable diffusions, you can go to Hugging Face on model stable diffusions, and you can choose basically tons and tons of free models that people have trained on different art style, on different ways. And so it's very easy. You can just directly download it into your local machines. For example, you go to the files and versions, and wait, this one doesn't have that. Let's go to okay, anything before. Yeah, usually if you just go to the files and versions, you would have basically the models here. So I would always recommend using the Safe Tensors model and download it, because a lot of time these checkpoint files, they can contain viruses, right? And a lot of there's already adversarial attacks on computers that download these checkpoints and without checking them first for viruses. So the Safe Tensor files, you don't get virus from Safe Tensor files. Safe Tensor files are very good options to download stable diffusion models and to run them locally without having to worry about having viruses infect your computers. And so I highly recommend, just checking out the Hugging Face models for stable diffusions. There are already hundreds of them. So a few that I can recommend is Dream Shaper. You can see the style here. Very beautiful art style that is very realistic, and it's trained on a lot of Midjourney and also a lot of art, digital arts that are beautiful. So it's basically out of the box. It creates stunning images without you having to train or having to do a lot of prompting to it. ProtoGen, also a very good model, used it very often. And there's also Open Journey is basically the grandfather of Midjourney based prompt, right? So I don't like it that much these days because it's kind of look very plasticky with the latest model that they came out. But still, you can use it, and most of the time it creates something very beautiful for you, having to worry about it. Dreamlike Diffusion is very good for creating photographic images. So for example, here you can create very realistic photographic images of people or even of landscape and things as well, because it's actually trained on a lot of beautiful photography. And we will actually use this model a bit later on when we do the creating virtual worlds very easily on Blender. And one thing that you have to be careful about is that this model is also trained on a lot of nude photography. And so it's actually sometimes it creates nude and not safe for work images, which is something that I think not very good, especially if you do like a demo like this, or if you use this for office use, for example. And so make sure to add nude and naked to, yeah, where's the UI? Okay, make sure to put it here, which is basically, this is the negative prompt, which is the prompt that you use when you don't want anything to appear in your images, right? So if you don't want nude images of people, then you put nude in here. For example, here I put in bad artist, blurry text, or bad art, for example. So because I don't want these things to appear in images. So make sure to put in the negative prompts, the things that you want to appear, you don't want to appear in your model and in your images. So with that, we have this model here that have already created these images that I think is quite nice. I want to use this for the next step, which is to use the control net. So usually you can just drop it here, but I don't know why today like it doesn't work for some reason. So I'm gonna just drop that image after I download it here in control nets, right? So in order to get control net into your models, like the easiest way is to install it in the extension tab, right? So in the extensions tab, you can go to install from URL, and then you can go to put it there in control net. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, you go to this place here as the web UI control net, and then you put it in, URL for extensions git repo, and then you can put the name here. I already have that, so you can click install, right? And then after that, you will basically see it here. And then you just click apply and restart UI. And then after that, like, you will basically see this thing down here when you run any kinds of models. So after you've created an image that you like, and you put that image in here into the control model, you enable it, then you will start the process of actually creating exactly what you want, right? So what I want right now, this is a cyberpunk model, and I want these faces maybe to have more of a mechanical feel. So for example, I want to have maybe some machine elements to them. So what I would use is to use depth. So depth, it's similar to Canny and is similar to, for example, pose, right? So you can choose a lot of different things here. For example, open pose is the one that I talked about earlier, which is like posing of like different figures and like different styles of like standing, lying down. So you can control the models in your image. Canny is the edge detections, so you can just download it directly into your model to use it. What I want to use is to use depth, because depth is basically what will detect in this image, like what is like on the foreground, what is on the background. So you can actually see like the faces of the people, and I want to maybe add in some elements of mechanical details. So maybe mercenary mechanical mask here, and let's generate to see if so as you can see here, what the model is doing is basically it's taking this exact images, right? And it's creating different versions of this that is trying to have this new prompts here that we have. So we have like an image that we already liked, and now we're trying to add in more information into this. So for example, here it's I know what we like to see, which is like a mechanical element. So let's try to put something else. Machine parts. See if this makes more difference, or maybe less. Yeah, you can also toggle the guidance and the canvas size and things here, actually. So less, actually. And not quite happy with the model yet, so I want to generate a little bit more. Yeah, okay, so it's just able to put like a couple of these mechanical parts in there. Yeah, okay. Let's just say that like, we're happy with this, right? Then next things you can do is to upscale this, send this to extra. You can resize it. You can upscale it to bigger versions for okay, I would just say like resize it to 2. So you have a high quality image. And then, the model will basically create a very stylized image, for example, here for you. So that's basically the control net that we have, which is a very interesting way, I think, to control the image that you want to have. And you can also have different control models here, right? So you can also have the same images, but you have different control in terms of the things you want to put here, as well as the different weights and different guidance for your images and the things that you want to see inside the model. So very fun thing to have, I think, for Stable Diffusions, and to just to enjoy, I think, doing this thing. I think it's a very cool thing. And that's for ControlNet. And the next thing, the last thing that I want to show is to create this virtual world thing that we talked about earlier, right? So first I want to open Blender first, because this thing is gonna take a long time to open. So Blender is basically a software is able to help you to create models very easily, right, in 3D, right? So this is a software that a lot of people in the gaming industry use, and also a lot of people in the animation industry use to create very beautiful and stunning 3D models. And also people in VR, in the virtual world space, they also use this model to basically create very fun virtual worlds and experiences that you can have in there. So what I want to use now is what I told earlier, is I want to use the Dreamlight versions to create maybe some kind of VR. Okay, I want to delete this. And I want to use VR church. Yeah, so in order to create an image for virtual realities, what you need to use is to use asymmetric tilings. Okay, completely forgot. I still have ControlNet enable. Yeah, so we had ControlNet enable earlier, so that's why what the model is trying to do is to use ControlNet to rerun it. To restart the UI. What you need in order to run this is basically to use asymmetric tiling SD web UI. So this is able to basically create a very broad canvas, like a panoramic image of the scenery for you. And then so you are able to basically stitch up the images from one end to another in order to create like a round image, as you can imagine in a virtual world scene, right? So you can use basically this GitHub page here. Okay, let's restart this. And then same thing as we did before, which is basically install from UI, right? You put in the asymmetric here, and then you can change add the name here. You can click install, and then it will be here basically. And you can apply, and you can restart UI, and then that will appear here. And what you want to do whenever you want to create this panoramic effect is to basically have the prompt. For example, I want to create a prompt for a church in the middle of a field of crops, and I want to activate this, and I want to make sure that I have a very long width for this image, and we just click generate and see what we have here. Okay, let's say that we take this image because we're kind of running out of time. So we will send this image to Extra. And what we want to do next is we want to upscale this image at least to 4 times resolutions. So we have a very strong and very clear image that we can work on. And we'll take a minute. And okay, save this. And we go back to our Blender here. What we want to do in Blender is to go into shading. Shading is basically where you create the environment surrounding your model, basically. So you want to choose here in the world. And what this does is basically to create like a shadings of different worlds and different things that you can do. And I'm going to put in the image that I created earlier. And what I want to use here is to use Shift A, which is basically pops up this control here. And I want to add an environmental texture. And I will connect this with the background. And I want to open it. And this is where I basically will put in my image. And we don't see anything here, but once you click on the viewport of shading, you actually can start to see this thing here and the church. And if you want to see it in full screen, you can go back to layout, you can go into shading again, and now you actually can basically have already created a virtual world where you have a church, you have an open field, things here, right? So that's very easy to use and very fun to do. And you can basically, after that, you can render this as a scene or as a movie that you can use in your virtual realities and your goggles, right? So you can, so I can just like put in a couple of things that I've generated like just a few minutes before this sessions. So for example, here, this is like an ocean view on top of a mountain. And yeah, so there's an open sky, and there's a view here. And you can kind of imagine that you can basically just export this as a file, and then you can load this up on your computers. You can load this up on a movie, or you can load this up in virtual reality goggles from Meta or with Oculus, and you can view and you can actually walk around on this view, right? And you can generate like more and more images. So you can create like a more open world on this aspect ratios for Blender as well. So that's another fun applications for stable diffusions and blenders that you can have. And I think that's it for most of the things that I want to touch on today. And I think one more thing that I want to talk about is CVTI. CVTI is basically it's basically a repository and a collections of models that the community built. So it's very much like Hugging Face for stable diffusions, right? But CVTI is a little bit less control. So you have the freedom to use whatever art you want. So a lot of people that do pornography or art that are a little bit less traditional, they basically use CVTI to upload their models here so people can experiment and have fun with it. So this also use it at your own discretion as well. And make sure that you always download the safe tensor model and run the safe tensor models and not the checkpoint model, because this is basically like the Wild West, right? So this is basically the 4chan of stable diffusions. So make sure that you are safe, make sure that our computers are safe by only downloading and using the safe tensor models, so that you don't, this model here, and do not use this checkpoint model. Always use the safe tensors so that your computers and yourself and your sanities is also safe, without having to worry about hackers and people taking control of your laptop. So that's my last note, I think, on things that you should be wary about on all these things. So yeah, we talked quite a bit about everything that's going on with the AI art generation, and also the AI text generation space. And also we've gone through some demos of some of the technologies that are happening right now. So please let me know for future sessions if you think this is a good format, and if you want more detailed sessions on some of these tools, and maybe if you want to train your own models and your own data sets for art or for text generation, please let me know, and we will try to do some sessions on these things as well. So yeah, very much thank you for joining us today. I'm very sorry that we're running over time for 15 minutes, and thank you for joining today. And let me know if you have any questions later on. I will try to answer them in the chat. I think Anna has a question. GPT-4, no, at the moment GPT-4 all cannot Google, because it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's running all on your local machine, right? It doesn't have access to internet, but you can also code the model to have access to internet. So that's also very doable. There's also another thing I don't want to touch on today, mainly because the technology is not really there yet, but there's also baby AGI. So baby AGI is very similar to Auto GPT, also very similar to GPT-4 all. Baby AGI is basically a model that is in your computer that is able to constantly improve itself. So we talk about AIs that are able to improve itself based on its weaknesses, right? So this is one of these models that just came out, and I tested out, and because it's not really, it's not there yet, so that's why I don't want to demo it here today. But if you want to, you can also just try it out and have fun. So what this model does is that you give it an objective, and it will basically endlessly generate for you whatever it is that you need. So for example, you can actually give it an objective like create a web app for, I don't know, like that mirrors Twitter, or create like a web app for a stable diffusion model or whatever. And the first task is to search for steps to create a web app. And then what the model will do, and what this baby AGI will do, it will basically constantly improve on itself, constantly queries different things based on your objective and based on the first task that you give it. And eventually, maybe in a day, or in half a day, or in 1 hour, or in 5 minutes, it will eventually create for you whatever it is that the objective gives, that you give it to it. So for example, if you give it the objective of creating a web app, eventually it will create a web app for you with all the codes and everything available. So that's the idea behind baby AGI, which is a model that is able to constantly improve on itself and constantly improve on its own prompt. And that's I think something that's quite amazing that is happening, but it's still not there yet. And also it's very long to run this thing, because you can imagine like it's basically constantly trying to query, and it's constantly trying to build on its previous prompts and its previous models, right? So I ran this, I think last week, and it took like an entire day or something to create whatever it is that I want to create. So it's not a very good model to demo, but it's very fun to use. I think if you have a very specific task and a very small task that you want to try it out. I would not recommend to run it for an entire day, because that's basically like a very expensive like OpenAI API call, which I think that that call for the entire day, I think took me like $5 or something. So that was quite a lot. $5 is a lot for OpenAI API. So for OpenAI API, 20 euros per month. For 20 euros per month, you can generate the entire novels of Harry Potter every single day for an entire month with just 20 euros. So $5 a day, it's a lot of money. So that's why this thing is it's a little bit of danger. So that's why I don't recommend using it yet, but maybe just try it out on a very small and very specific task, so it's able to achieve it very quickly. But then don't try to ask it something like, oh, hey, it built me like $1 million startup or something. Then it will actually take a very long time to execute and to actually create. So I think that's it. All the things that I want to talk about today. We will try our best to have more of these sessions in the future and to just update you on all the things that are happening in the world of AI. And thank you very much for joining us today. And let me know if you have any questions. Looking forward to seeing you in later sessions. And yes, Nina, we will have a sessions on prompt engineering for both art and for text generations. So hopefully we will try to mix it in the summer school. So we will have the data science summer school this year in August. And I think we will have 8 classes again. We will have, in between these classes, we will have a small workshops on mastering prompt engineering for text and AI art generation. So we will have that there. So yeah, thank you, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and yeah, have a nice day. Bye-bye.